friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to show you a new stitch to add to your repertoire. This is the mesh stitch. For this project, you will need some yarn. I'm going to be using this sort of a denim blue number 4 weight cotton. You'll also need a crochet hook. For this project, I'm going to be using a 5.5mm hook. You'll also need some scissors, as well as a yarn needle to weave in your ends. So gather your supplies, and let's jump in. Actually, before we jump in, let's just have a quick look at the mesh stitch. This one is super fun and gappy. It can work great for a market bag or a mesh top. I'm going to be using this as a pocket on a tote bag. Obviously a pocket for larger items like your cell phone, but you can definitely use it as the entire project. I've added a single crochet border around the outside just to sort of strengthen up the edges of it. For this project, we're going to be using double crochets, chain stitches, and single crochets. If you're new to crochet and those are not in your repertoire, check the links in the top corner and in the description box down below, where I will put all of those related tutorials so you can get started there. All right, now let's jump in. This project is worked in sets of 3. So I'm going to pick 18 as my initial chain number. You need to be working in groups of 3. Make yours as long as you want, but start with a chain that is at least divisible by 3. So I'm going to start with a chain of 18. 1, 2, 3, 16, 17, and 18. There is my initial chain. Now, for the starting chain, you need to add an additional 5 stitches here. You need to do 5 more chains than whatever your initial chain is. So starting with 18, now I'm going to add 5 more for my foundation chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those 5 chain stitches are going to make up the edge of our work, as well as the first set in the mesh pattern. Let's get into our first row. For row number 1, we're going to begin by putting a double crochet in the 8th chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Yarn over, insert the hook into that chain stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Now, the next step is to chain 2. Chain 1, chain 2. Then we're going to skip the next 2 chain stitches, 1 and 2, and then in the following stitch, we'll put another double crochet. Yarn over, insert the hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then chain 2, 1 and 2. Then we're going to skip 2, 1 and 2, then we're going to double crochet into the next stitch. Then chain 2, 1 and 2, skip 2, 1 and 2, double crochet into the next stitch. And you can already see that mesh pattern forming. Chain 2, 1 and 2, skip 2, 1 and 2, double crochet into the next stitch. And now at the end of the row, if you followed my instruction and did your initial chain divisible by 3 plus your 5 at the beginning, you'll end up with 2 unused chains and a 3rd at the end. So we'll do our last chain 2, chain 1, chain 2. You'll skip your last 2, and then you'll finish your row with a double crochet in the last chain. That's why you need your row, your initial chain, to be divisible by 3. And there is row number 1. So if you were going to try and make a shirt or something larger with this pattern, what I would recommend is doing what we're doing together right now, and then you can measure how long this piece is and multiply out your chains from there. So we started with our chain of 18 plus 5. You could do a chain of 18, you'd do a chain of 36, and you'd get double this width, and so on until you get to the size that you need for whatever project you're going to be making. Now for row number 2, we're going to start with a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. and then we're going to turn the work over. Now, that chain of 5, 3 of those chains are going to be the height of a double crochet. The remaining 2 chains are going to be the first section of our first part of the mesh. Now, we're going to do a double crochet into this double crochet stitch, just like that. See how that worked out? Then we'll chain 2 again, 1 and 2, and then we'll do a double crochet into the double crochet stitch. So we're going to ignore those chains, and you'll see your double crochet right there. And we'll just do a regular double crochet into that stitch. And that puts the boxes of the mesh stitch right on top of one another. Then we'll chain 2, double crochet into the following double crochet stitch. And we're going to do that all the way across to the end of row number 2. All right, here I am coming up to the end of row number 2. I'm going to put my last double crochet into a double crochet stitch, and you'll see here at the end of the row there's a big chain from where we started our project. So I'm going to put my last chain 2, 1 and 2, and then I'm going to just treat this as though it is a chain 2 space and a double crochet. So I'll count my chain 2, 1 and 2, and then in the following stitch, which is going to be a chain stitch, I'm going to put a double crochet into that chain stitch. And that makes up the end of the row. And now you can see that chain that we did at the end, the chain 5, now is the chain at the bottom of the work, and the 3 chains makes up the double crochet, and then 2 more for the chain at the side. Make sense? Let's get into row number 3. This is actually just a 2-row repeat, so row number 3 is going to be the exact same as row number 2. We'll start with a chain of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we'll turn the work. Then we'll put a double crochet into the double crochet stitch. Ignore those first chains and just put your double crochet in on top of the previous double crochet, just like that. Then chain 2 again, 1 and 2, then double crochet into the double crochet stitch. Chain 2, double crochet into the double crochet stitch. From this point on, it is a repeat of the exact same thing. Row 1 and row 2, and then you'll just repeat row 2 until you get to the height that you want for your project. For me, I'm just making something roughly the size of a dishcloth. I'm going to end up using these as pockets on a bag. You'll have to come back in the future though to see another project I plan on doing with this stitch. I want to make a tank top for summer, something that you would wear over top of like a spaghetti strap tank top. And I think that in order to do that, the mesh stitch would be a fun one to make that sort of boxy shaped mesh tank top with. Here I am at the end of row number 3. I'm going to put my last 2 chains, skip 2 of the chain stitches, and my last double crochet in the 3rd chain from the end there. And then chain 5 and turn 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's starting to get that mesh shape. It's got that really perfect check where the double crochets are right on top of one another, and then the chains make up a nice straight row the opposite direction. How fun is that? I actually love this stitch. I think this would make such a cute boxy tank top for spring or for summer or a beach cover up. There's a lot of options for this stitch. It'd be great to make a market bag with. You could just make 2 large rectangles and stitch them together, or 1 large rectangle folded in half and then stitched up on the sides. Easy peasy market bag project. But for the rest of this square, which is going to be a pocket, like I mentioned before, I'm going to just zoom through this part, repeating row 2 over and over again until my pocket is square. So I need to do, I think, 7 rows like this total. 1, 2. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that, and I will meet you back here once I finish my rows to show you how we're going to create a little bit more structure around the outside of the project. I just finished my rectangle and it's so freaking cute. I love this stitch. I've been getting more and more excited about designing something from this. I think it's gonna be the mesh tank top. I think that's what needs to be made out of this stitch. It's just got such a nice drape. You can fit your fingers in and out of it, but it feels like it's not gonna get caught on everything. It's gonna happen. All right, now let's get to the point where we add a little bit of structure to this project. So I'll put my last double crochet in here on my last row, and then I'm going to chain 1 at this point and turn. So once you've figured out how long and wide you want your rectangle to be, whatever you're making, then chain 1 and turn on for your last round. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna single crochet across and then single crochet down, single crochet across, single crochet up to create a little border on this. So I'm gonna start with a single crochet into the base of the chain 1 there, which is the first or the last double crochet there. Now we've got chain 2 space. So I'm gonna put 2 single crochets in that chain 2 space. Then we're at a double crochet. So I'm gonna put a single crochet, into the double crochet there. And then in the chain 2 space, I'm gonna put 2 more single crochets. There's 1, there's 2. Then there is a double crochet here. So I'll put 1 single crochet there and 2 single crochets in the chain 2 space. And I'm gonna repeat that until I get to the corner. I'll meet you at the corner. All right, here I am. I've made it up to the corner now. This is where we've got a chain 5. So I've just put my last single crochet into my last double crochet at the end of the row. What I'm gonna do to get myself around the corner, I'm gonna put 2 single crochets into that corner, 1 and 2. Then I'll chain 1, and then I'll put 2 more single crochets into that corner. And that's just going to create a little bit of a point there around the corner. And now we're gonna work down the rows. Now in this part, we're going to do it a little different. There's no double crochet to put the stitch in. So what we're gonna do instead is just put 2 single crochets in the large space all the way down. We're not gonna put an additional 3rd double crochet into these sort of spots because they're not actually double crochets. So there's gonna be fewer stitches here. So 2 single crochets, and then we'll just skip the sort of post, and then we'll just put 2 single crochets into the next space. Skip the post, 2 single crochets in the next space, and skip the post, and 2 single crochets in the next space, and do that all the way down the work. And here I am, I've made it back to my corner. At the corner, I am going to do 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, followed by a chain 1, followed by 2 additional single crochets, 1 and 2. And that got us just around the corner. Creates a little bit of a point so that you can tell where your corner is. And now we're back on a row where we've got these posts that are actually the double crochets. So we're gonna put a single crochet into those double crochets, and then 2 single crochets into the chain 2 space. Single crochet into the double crochet, 2 single crochets into the chain 2 space. And I'll repeat that until I get back to the next corner. Here I am at the next corner. I've just put my last single crochet into the double crochet. So since we're at a corner, again, I'm gonna put 2 single crochets in the corner, chain 1, 2 more single crochets into that same space. And now we are back around working up the rows. And so again, I'm gonna put 2 single crochets in those gaps between the rows, 2 single crochets, 2 single crochets until I get back to where I started this round. Here I am at my last space. I'm gonna put 1 single crochet into the last spot because we started the row here, or the round, with a single crochet into the double crochet stitch. So we are going to just consider that part of this here row. So I'm gonna do that last single crochet, and then I'm gonna join my round here with a slip stitch, just like that. And at this point, I can cut my yarn, weave in my end, and ta-da! It's finished! What do you think? This one does so well when it's blocked. I highly recommend, if you're going to make something out of this stitch, go ahead and either put it under your iron on a steam setting, you'll get a perfect square, or soak it in warm water for 30 minutes, squeeze it out, and then block it on a blocking mat and let it dry. Either way, you're gonna end up with a beautiful square that I think it just adds a little something extra. But this is such a perfect stitch if you're making a market bag. Like I've said, I'm going to be making a tank top with it, so come back around for that. That'll be up in a couple of weeks. Still have to design it and figure it out, but come on back. Once it's up, I'll link it here so you can find it if you're seeing this later. But what do you think? The mesh stitch. An easy peasy net-like stitch. When layered, you could get some really cool effects with this one. I think this would be really cool for some of your weird market projects and your summer stuff. I wonder if you could make like a hammock out of this, or like a headband, like a bandana, if you made a square. It's light enough. It's got such a fun drape to it. I'm really interested in this stitch. Cool. Anyway, that's the mesh stitch. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you give it a shot and see what you can come up with. Let me know in the comments down below what else I could make with this stitch, because it is gappy, which limits its use, but I think there's gotta be some cool stuff we could do with this. Maybe even like a hair bow, you know, like using it for some accessories. How cute would that be? Make a little hair bow out of it. Something like that. Anyways, friends, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to everyone supporting the channel. Here is the list of channel supporters. You guys rock. I appreciate you. If you would like to support the channel, check out the links in the description box down below. All of the tutorials you'll need to figure this one out will be listed there, as well as all of the links to the ways you can support. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next week. Bye!